Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Danielle, and on behalf of the Wood County Committee on Aging, we welcome everyone to our discussion on diversity today. We are very fortunate to have our speaker, Eric Myers, joining us. He has been in the education industry for many years. He was a special education teacher. He worked with the Bowling Green City Schools as well as Bowling Green State University. He has his BA in politics and government, his Master's of Education in Special Education, his EDS in Education Administration and Supervision, and his EDD in Education Administration and Supervision. So at this time, we welcome Eric to our presentation, and thank you for providing the valuable information to us.
Yeah. Well, good afternoon. I think I recognize you folks from previous presentation that I did last month. And today's workshop is the first of the three-part series. And let me okay. And it's titled Diversity in Today's World. And basically the three parts of it are today I'll do a little bit of an introduction, and we're going to talk about types of diversity. And I will have a student from my class named Emma Stewart do a presentation, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a couple minutes. Next week, I'm going to talk about religions and the diversity in religions in the world. And then on October 20th, it'll be a session on sexual and gender identity. And we will talk about the difference of that in the world. And also I will have a former student of mine, Dakota Morrison, help present on that topic. So that's kind of the plan for the 3 weeks. Again, this is a three-part series on diversity, and the top is just what was in the program guide. In the world of new awareness of diversity, we are becoming aware of the different aspects of individuals, and we are diverse in so many different ways, as well as similar. This program will look at some of the ways each of us is unique from others and discuss various areas of diversity. And I've already gone over with you what we're going to do for the 3 sessions. The first session today is sort of a global view of diversity. Emma Stewart, a student of mine, we have an assignment in class where they have to do their family tree. And the reason I do that, I teach the class on diversity. The reason I do that is before you can know other people, you have to know yourself. And they have to know where they're coming from, who they are, before they can learn about the diversity of others. So they have to do the family tree. And what I have found with the family tree is that the students grumble at first, but they end up really liking it. But who really likes it are their grandmothers. Because to get information about family trees, their parents rarely have that information, but the grandparents have it, grandmothers have it. So they call there and they get all kinds of background information on their families. So while the students enjoy the project, it's the grandparents who really, really, really like the project and are excited about it. Emma's family tree goes way back, as she will show you. But the part of the point of the whole thing is that we all came here from somewhere else. Some more recently than others, but in a nutshell, we are all immigrants in some fashion. Now, if you're Native American, that could go back 10,000 years. But for the rest of us, it's pretty much in the last 500 years that we've come here. I forgot to share my one disclaimer, which I'll do now. which is that these presentations are purely my concept and development. They are not the official views of the Wood County Committee on Aging. They are mine. If you have any things that you want to discuss with it about what I presented, they should be done with me, not with the Wood County Committee on Aging. They are just the vessel to present this program. So when I was a child, and I suspect you folks were the same way when you were in school, America was described as a melting pot. Okay. When I mention that in class today with 21, 22-year-olds, they look at me and go, what the heck is a melting pot? They have no concept. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and while it is not the steel making city that it was when I grew up, it's still, they still have steel mills, but one of the biggest memories I have is coming to downtown Pittsburgh from the community where I lived, and you come so that you stare into the end of the U.S. Steel mill, where you can see them pouring this hot molten material into a pot. Okay, and that is the melting pot. It's the pot in the steel mill that the fluids and liquids that make steel are put in there. Okay, just for a reference, the raw materials that go into the melting pot include iron ore, coke, which is the offshoot of coal, and some quantities of fluxes. So it's all put together. They take these various parts, they put them together, and then they heat it up to horrendously high temperatures, and they pour it into a pot where it melts and eventually solidifies into steel. So a melting pot is where you take things, throw it together, and it ends up with one product. This is in reference to people in America, where we were called a melting pot because we take people from all over the world. They are put together, they are melded together, they assimilate the American culture, and everybody becomes a universal or similar type of individual. That may have been true in the 50s and 60s. It is certainly not true of today. So I came up with the concept that we are really a tossed salad. We are a country that has a mixture of ingredients. And if you think of a tossed salad, you think of lettuce, carrots, cheese, cucumbers, onions, even different kinds of lettuce, and they're stirred together. And then it's topped with a salad dressing. Well, in today's world, we have a variety of different nationalities that live in communities, often similar to their backgrounds, and they put them in there, and all these different groups live together, and then they are covered with a salad dressing of Americanism. An example, if you happen to be familiar with large cities, older large cities like Cleveland or Pittsburgh, you often would have the neighborhoods that are specific groups would settle together. In Toledo, on the east side of Toledo, is Polish and Eastern European. In Pittsburgh, there was a small Chinese section. There were a variety of different ethnic groups who met together, who lived together in their neighborhoods. Cleveland is known for its section of Little Italy. So all these groups are separate. They come together, they're all part of the United States, but they're all different. and they hold on to their ethnic backgrounds. Was a common one that most people know over the Irish in Boston. Okay. One of the things that I do in class, I will talk about after Emma does her presentation, is the fact that we all have differences more so than we think about. If you were to take a look at a common BGSU class, you would think there was no diversity visually when you look at the class. And so I've come up with an exercise that I'll tell you about that defines for them how different they are all really from each other. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Emma Stewart. I had an opportunity, I teach by Zoom, so I don't really meet my students, although I met Emma for about 3 minutes the other day. Emma is a senior. She's majoring in neuroscience. Yes, I said neuroscience. With hopes and plans of going to medical school. And she also mentioned getting a doctorate of philosophy so that she could go specifically in the area of research and study that she's interested in. The reason that I asked Emma to present today is she did a tremendous job, as I'm guessing she does with all her schoolwork. Yeah, she's embarrassed. With the family tree project. And the family tree project, excuse me, while I get rid of the phone here. The purpose of the family tree thing had 4 main things that they had to do. They had to see how far back they could go, what ethnicities or races were in their family, what they learned by doing the family tree, and an interesting fact. And Emma has quite a few interesting facts from her family tree. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Emma, and I'll get out of stop share and you can go ahead and load yours.
Thank you, Dr. Myers. Hello, everybody. Like Dr. Myers introduced me, my name is Emma Stewart. I'm a senior at Bowling Green State University studying neuroscience. I'm very excited to graduate this year. There's a lot to do before then, though. I am taking this class because I thought I would be able to add a lot to the conversation, and I really enjoy working with Dr. Myers. And let me see if I can share my screen. Let me wait. Technology. See if I can like present it first. All right, can you see it?
Yes.
All right, so can you see the actual presentation or the preview version? Dr. Myers, you're muted.
Go up top to display settings.
Okay, display.
Up and click on the.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me try this again. I don't know why. Oh, display settings. I see it.
Okay.
Aha, okay. You should be able to hopefully see it now once I share it properly. All right. Ta-da! Do you see the suave?
Yep, now you can go to the slideshow. All right, now go to display setting. Okay.
Okay. Good. Good? Okay, finally, sorry. I have difficulty sometimes. All right, so this is my family tree. And just to give you a little bit of background about myself and, you know, my story, let's start from the beginning. These are my lovely parents. They got married in Logan, Utah in 1997. And then they decided to have a child, which was me. I'm the oldest of 3 children. I have 2 little brothers. And our life has been very interesting. I was born in Utah. And then when I was 6, I moved to California. And then when I was 10, I moved to Washington, D.C. And then my dad's job allowed us to move overseas to Paraguay in South America when I was 11. And then I lived in South America for 3 years. And then after that, we moved to the Philippines in Southeast Asia. And that's where this picture was taken. This is actually a jeepney. It's like the main method of transportation in the Philippines. And they have festivals where all the jeepney drivers, they like paint all of their jeepneys and they go on a parade of sorts and they get judged and, you know, they get a prize for whatever jeepney is the best, this like, I suppose best colored or like the best jeepney that was presented well. And along the way, in my 20 years of life, we picked up a cat. Her name is Cleo. And then my dog, because we can't forget the animals. They're important too. So while I was researching my family tree, I found that my family tree is composed of 3 main ethnicities or nationalities. The primary one is Norwegian. I've known this from the beginning of time that I'm a quarter Norwegian. Both of my parents are half Norwegian. And especially my dad's side, I am to be Scottish. And then on my mom's side, this was actually new information, I'm also Danish as well. So all of these are very much from the northern part of Europe. And they all decided to come together to form me. So this is my mother's maternal line. I'm over here while my mother is right here. And then we go on to discover my mom's parents. And you can see that it goes back quite a ways and that we're still considered in Utah over on the right-hand side. But if you go up to where my mother's father right here, George William Jr. Elwood, his family is actually coming from England in the 1800s. And so that's when his side of the family decided to immigrate to the United States. If you look at my mother's paternal line, so my mom's dad's family, you can see that they're all in Utah as well. And, oh, we have someone from Australia. Love that. And a bunch of other countries as well. This is where primarily the Danish side came in. And actually, my mom's dad's mother, Betty Lou Anderson, her mother brought her to the United States from Norway. And so Betty Lou Anderson is 100% Norwegian. And when I was little, they would always sing, you know, the Norwegian version of patty cake to me, and I know all the words still because we used to sing it to my little brother when he was small too. As for my father's maternal line, this is the very Scottish portion. My dad's father's side, that's all the Scottish right there, but if we go to his mom's side, Walter Leroy Bjerke. Bjerke is a very Norwegian name because of the silent J that you also hear in fjords. I think his parents also immigrated to the States from Norway. And he is 100% Norwegian, whereas Jean Marie Harris is very American from Salt Lake City, Utah. And then the paternal line right here, lots of United States origin, some English over here. But if you go farther back, you'll see that he has a really strong Scottish heritage. And so I'm gonna play this video for y'all. Hopefully it plays. And I am very fortunate to be a part like a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because we are really big on genealogy. And the reason for that is we have an ordinance in our temples called baptisms for the dead. And to very simply explain it, we believe that anyone can get baptized at any time after they're 8. And we present them the option, even after they're dead, to accept the ordinance or not. So we go into our temples and we find names of people who have already passed away, and we get baptized in their name. And we believe that in heaven, they'll get the ordinance and then decide whether or not they want to go through with the ordinance and they want to be baptized into our church or not. And obviously genealogy is a really, really big part of that, because we want everyone to come into God's fold, essentially. So the video ended, and I was able to go as far back as 695 AD. We had a birthday, but we don't know when he died, so we can pretty much assume that he's very dead by now. His name was Guy de Treves, and I think he was part of the Scottish lineage. Ooh, don't play the video again. Thank you. This is all the Scottish I was talking about. You can see here that I am a very, very long, like very far away descendant of Robert II, who is the King of Scotland, and Elizabeth Muir of Rowallan, two very prominent royal figures in the Scottish royal line. And so we know that I have a lot of ladies and dukes in here and earls and lots of different kings and countesses. So I have a really good mix of royal heritage from my dad's Scottish side. And actually, we think that the name Stewart originated from the royal title Steward, and after just going through that name over and over, it just became adopted from a title to a last name, and the T was changed to a D. Or the D was changed to a T, sorry. These are my crests that I found online after looking up some prominent figures in my heritage, and we have two. The main theme that we see is the checkered blue and white, which has always stuck to the Stewart name throughout time. And on the right-hand side, we see the English version of the crest with lots of royal reds and yellows, while on the left side, we see the Scottish version of the crest. Very similar, but also distinct depending on where your Stewart clan is from. And then what did I learn? I learned that much of my heritage is Danish. When I was looking through my family tree, I saw a lot of sons and daughters, and that really confused me because the last name changed with every generation. And then I made the connection that, son is obviously Danish for son, and daughter is Danish for daughter. So they would take the first name of their father and adopt it as their last name, ending it in the suffix of son and daughter. So that was really confusing, but I eventually figured it out. And then last names actually stopped changing when people immigrated to the United States, just because of record's sake. And I also learned that I am not going to inherit the Scottish crown anytime soon, or I think now they're all in the Commonwealth, so the English crown. So far from that, but I figured it was worth a shot. And then there's actually a really cool, website that can hook up to a family tree or Ancestry.com, and it can tell you whether or not you are related to specific prominent figures in history. Dr. Myers, in one class, he joked that his sister was sure that they were related to Jesse James. And just for the fun of it, I wondered whether I was too, and turns out I am his 8th cousin 4 times removed, with the common ancestor of John Porter. I'm also related to one of my favorite childhood writers, Laura Ingalls Wilder. read all of the Little House on the Prairie books when I was little, and that I am actually also related to Martin Luther King Jr., despite not having any sort of African American heritage, or actually African heritage, I suppose. But our common ancestor is James Hicks. And I also, through this, I learned that if you go back far enough, essentially around the 16th century, everyone's related. And that kind of just goes along with the theme of everyone's just one big family, which I think is really cool. And that through genealogy, you can learn so many different kinds of things about yourself. And I think it's important for everyone to know where they came from so that they can know where they want to be in the future and what kind of traditions your family can have and all the different cultural influences in your life. And I just think it's amazing that we all have something so unique to only ourselves and our family that we can share with other people. But with that, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate your attention.
Okay, I appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for Emma? She has, in the years that I've been doing this, probably gone as far back as anybody that I have. Julie?
Yes, I was wondering what clan her family from Scotland was.
I can actually look it up right now. It was very specific.
Because
like
my
different branches
grandson,
of Clan Stewarts.
yeah, because my grandson's mother's a Stewart. My son-in-law's middle name is Stewart, and she's from she came here from Scotland, but they're the MacLeods, and they're part of the Fairy clan.
Okay.
I don't think my internet connection is the most stable, but I got the gist of what you said. That's really cool.
And when they went to Scotland several times, they went to the castle where they have the magic flag from the Fairy clan. We got one more wish left on it. It's supposed to save the world. How important is that?
Let's keep that one handy. Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
To answer your question,
he's just like second generation American on his grandmother's side. On my side, we came here in 1626. So I don't even know how many generations that is.
Emma, were you able to find your clan?
I was able to find my clan. I am of Clan Stewart, Earl of Galloway, according to my ancestors. So we actually have quite a history, and it's very interesting. I would love to read up more about it.
Okay, well, I want to thank Emma for taking the time to do this and volunteering for it. And I will see Emma tomorrow in class. Goodbye.
Have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, Emma. The reason that I do this is that when our students get into, I teach a class, the students are required to take a general education class, and diversity in the class I teach is one of them. And like I said, they come in and they sit down and they look around, and for them, they think the classroom is the most diverse place that they have seen, but yet there will only be one or two obvious examples of where people are diverse, visual differences and why they're diverse. And I want to prove to them that they are indeed more diverse than they look. So we do a exercise in class where they have to tell me the different kinds of diversity that exist in the world. And Zoom is not really the best way to do that. It's better I do it with sticky notes in a face-to-face classroom. But they generally come up with ways that we are all different or diverse. And a lot of the ways that they come up with that they are diverse. Number one is race. Number two is ethnicity, religion, sexuality or gender identification, socioeconomic status, political views, family structure, location, and I'll go over some of these again in a minute, abilities and intelligences, and other types of just general diversities that they come up with. Frequently, they are skill sets, athletic ability, that type of thing. So these are all kinds of different types of diversity that they come up with. Need to go back to the screen share here. Okay, these were the items, the ones that I listed. The question often comes up, what's the difference between race versus ethnicity? And before I do that, I do want to acknowledge that the question was, I used the word immigrate to the US, and most African Americans families did not immigrate to the United States. They were brought here, and Carol was correct in that. They didn't have a choice. They were thrown on horrendously bad condition ships and brought to the United States through no choice of their own. So not only is there immigration, but there's forced immigration for folks who came here. The old concept of race used to have 5 different races: African, Asian, European, Native American, and I'm not going to try to say it, but ocean folks, and that's mainly the Pacific Island oceans in the United States. What it doesn't say in this definition is that it's frequently done by the color of one's skin, is what the common definition of race is. I occasionally mention to my students that judging people on the color of their skin is kind of a iffy thing to do, because I don't know about you, but if I get angry or very hot, my skin is very red. If I'm sick, it's very pale. In normal, it's probably white to tan. When I get a suntan, my skin gets much darker, so the color of my skin changes with the times and the situation. And they're sort of amazed by the thought that I would say such a thing, but it is true that using the color of the skin to define somebody is a very chancy thing to do. And frankly, it's not a way to evaluate people. Ethnicity is a fact or state of belonging to a social group that had a common national or cultural tradition. And it's more, your ethnicity is more like you might be Polish because your family originally came from Poland. Emma's family, you could argue for Danish, Norwegian, Scottish, British. Okay, she has a multiple ethnicities in her background. My family is pretty much, even though my name is pretty much of a German context, is mainly English, Scottish, and Welsh. And so that's where we came back. My sister also, who says we're related to Jesse James, and I don't know whether to claim that or not, is that we have Native American in our background, but the ancestry test swab didn't show any of that. So I take all the students and I take 5 categories from the list that we have of the different types. And I have them use ethnicity, religion, political views, family structure, and location. And mainly because I want ones that are similar that I can use semester over semester. And so they fill out a sticky note for listing their ethnicities, and that's often 4, 5, 6. I've gotten everything from Incan, from Peru, have gotten, Australian, and Emma mentioned she had a little bit of that. I've gotten pretty much every country in the world over the course of the 10 or 12 years I've been doing this. For religion, I have them put not Christianity per se, if that is their religion, but what part of that faith are they? Catholic, Methodist, Presbyterian, non-denominational. For political views, they can put liberal, conservative, or Democratic, or Republican, or don't care, or Green Party, that type of thing. They can list whatever is there. Family structure is parents married, parents divorced, parent deceased, adopted, which is has become a more and more common factor in our classes. And so they list their different kind of family structure. And then location is, are they from a big city? Are they from a suburb? Are they from small towns? Bowling Green would fit into that definition. Are they from rural communities? So if you wish, you can unmute, and why don't you make a guess what the most common ethnicity are the students are. Anybody want to take a guess at Bowling Green State University? I've probably done this with well over 1,000 students. So anybody want to take a shot at it, what it might be? The other thing you could do is send a chat if you think Carol's trying to talk. But well, one thing. Okay. Well, who settled Ohio? What European groups settled here? The most common that you will find in Northwest Ohio are two. They're both European. It's German and Irish. So if you would assume the Germans came frequently because of religious issues in Germany, and they came and they settled in northern Ohio, particularly Northwest Ohio, because the weathering conditions are very similar to Germany. So they came and they were farmers, and along with the Irish who came, you've all heard of the potato famine and things like that. They all came here because the weather was similar, and they were the groups that drained the swamp, the Great Black Swamp, and turned this into the rich farmland that we have. So you would expect, and we get, the most common ethnicity for students at BGSU is German, followed by the Irish. Religion is year after year, class after class, the Catholic. The majority of students are Catholic. And so it is, what I do with these things is before they even vote, I write down my guesses and what the class is going to be, and I give my answers to somebody in class so that they know I didn't cheat. And it's automatic that I write German and that I write Catholic. What is, and when we talk about religion next week, I'll talk about this, what is growing and has become very, very close to the Catholic majority of the students is or no religion. It's not agnostic or atheist. It's just not interested in it, and that's rising, which is also, as I will show you next week, very common in the United States overall with churches. Family structure. The students at BGSU overwhelmingly come from married parents. It's not even close, no matter what the medium makes reference to with divorces, things like that. Our students come from the solid two-parent family circumstances. And the location that the students come from are the suburbs. We have a lot of students who come here at BG from Cleveland suburbs, the Columbus suburbs, and Dayton and Cincinnati are also very strong. As you might guess, the political views change from semester to semester and world event to world event. And if I'm wrong in my predictions, it's because I predict the wrong political affiliation. But what is growing in there, it used to be solid, either Democrat or Republican. What is growing now is that they are independent. And so that doesn't surprise me. So if you were to have a poster child of a BGSU, the common or average BGSU student, it would be a student who is German Catholic, parents are married, they come from the suburbs, and the political view goes one way or another. So we have 5 categories, and then I look at the class and I say, raise your hand if you have all 5 of these characteristics. And invariably, I'll get 1 student. So my point is, they're very diverse and they never think about it that way. And I do it to show them that they are diverse and we are diverse. Think how boring this world would be if we were all thought the same way, did the same thing. I like one of the probably strange things, and Danielle will cringe here. One of the strange things is I like to watch people. Now, I'm not stalking and I'm not getting into the personal things, but to me, to go to a mall, I know we don't do these things anymore, or go to Cedar Point and watch people, to me, that is very interesting, just to see the differences and how different people react and how they do things. So I guess the whole point of this first part of the presentation is visually is the worst way to determine the diversity of an individual. There are many, many factors that go into how you are different, things that are different, and just seeing someone, you cannot assume what they are. And the best thing that you can do is get to know them as an individual and understand that things are different for different people. They had socioeconomic background, all kinds of different activities, other kinds of different abilities and intelligences. We have to understand that someone may look like you and talk like you, but they aren't the same as you. So that's kind of the points that I wanted to cover for the first session today. Next week, the next session will be a discussion of religions, and I will not be trying to promote any one faith over another. It's basically to, what I found is that people understand their faith, but they may or may not understand others. So that's kind of what I plan to do next week. So at this point, I'd open this up for any discussions or any comments anybody wants to make.
So what I'll do, Eric, is I thank you for your great message on explaining the various aspects of diversity, and we will be happy to be able to share this on our website as well, on our YouTube channel. So at this time, we're going to stop the recording and then allow others to ask any questions. So stay tuned for our next section on diversity next week on the topic of religions.